In other news today, there's been a dispute over the last few days between the DA and the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Dr. Blade Nzimande, about the use of Afrikaans as a language of education, or technically a medium of instruction. The fight seems to have started in a legal battle about the use of Afrikaans at UNISA. Then the DA claimed in a statement that Nzimande hates Afrikaans. Ishmael Mnisi is the spokesperson for the Minister. He joins us now. Ishmael, thanks very much indeed for coming in. What's the Minister's response to that? Does Blade Nzimande hate Afrikaans?
Stephen, absolutely no. The Minister doesn't hate Afrikaans. He regards it as one of the 11 official languages of this country. We have captured it in our draft language policy that will be implemented throughout the post-school education and training sector. So he doesn't hate Afrikaans. But what he hates is Afrikaans being used as a means for exclusion and closing of opportunities for other learners within our institutions. But we are very clear in our language policy that we recognize it equally with other African languages, and where practicable, all of them must be used within our institutions. And institutions, through their own institutional language policies, will make that determination. UNISA in 2016 made that determination. Unfortunately, certain procedural measures were not followed, and hence we are seated here with that problem.
I'm going to come back to language being used as exclusion, because, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that that has happened in the past and could even still happen. But you said a moment ago Afrikaans is an African language. So the Minister and the Department believe it's an indigenous South African language. I just want to pick up on that point.
Definitely, we've captured it very well, as I said, in our language draft language policy, that it is amongst the official languages of South Africa, and we recognize it as such.
I mean, there are many things here, and I mean, there's a history. I mean, all languages have a history, and I mean, all languages and people will talk about the history of their language. I mean, that's how you know about your history, is through the history of your language. And Afrikaans is quite complicated. I mean, 1976, the Soweto protests happened because people, black students, were forced to use Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. At the same time, Afrikaans is understood by millions of people across this country. There's a lot of academic material that's been published in Afrikaans. It is still an important language, is the point that I'm trying to make. I mean, it is a South African language.
Stephen, battles were fought and won by the students of this country, by the majority of South Africans, which Afrikaans was imposed to them those years. And we do not want a repetition of that, and hence we're promoting the usage of the 11 languages within our post-school education and training sector. The undermining part is when some people will then extrapolate one language as if it's dominant. It has this dominant figure against any other languages that is there in South Africa. And this is what the Minister is not pleased with. However, it does not mean that he hates Afrikaans. And as we have said in our statement, that we would not want to again engage on that debate. You know the history of this country, and the languages have been used to undermine people, not only in Afrikaans, but also other ethnic groups were undermined on the basis of their own languages. So we are now saying, consciously so, using our constitution, that we will use all the 11 South African languages as medium of teaching and learning within our institutions of higher learning. So we don't know where this claim by the DA comes from, because the Minister has not said that. And our language policy, which is what is guiding the Department of Higher Education and Training, and our constitution of this country, clearly agrees with what is contained in our policy. So we don't know where it comes from, and we are still waiting for them to come up and say it. Well, we have not seen what their complaint with the Human Rights Commission. We are still waiting for that to see what exactly they are saying, and so that we can comprehensively respond.
I promised to come back to the issue of languages as a form of exclusion. What's happened in the past, I don't know if it still happens in any of the higher education institutions, it's happened in some of the sort of secondary schools as well, is that if you have some classes that teach, that say, for example, teach in English and some teach in Afrikaans, what we've seen in reality is that one class is only white learners, so that's usually been the Afrikaans class, and then where the language of instruction has been English, you've seen black learners in that class. Is that what you're talking about, where Afrikaans is used, or where a language is used as a form of exclusion? Is that the dynamic you're getting to?
Stephen, let me make this practical example. I for one, studied at the University of Pretoria, and we had both Afrikaans and English classes. And I must say that you'll be shocked that, the ethnic demography within the attendance of the classes was reflective of, the rainbow nation of South Africa. And believe you me, it's amazing. It is only opportunistic individuals and political parties who will come up and bring this debate, which is not a debate at all, given the progress that we've made in the country. And these are the spoilers that must be identified and shamed because of they are taking us backward. We are way ahead of the politics of some of these political parties which are claiming to be progressive, of which, according to us, are very much regressive. And we want that recognition of these languages. And that's why in our policy we are very clear that where it's practical, we would want to see these other languages being used. In the Eastern Cape, they can, in the universities in the Eastern Cape and TVET colleges, they can use this Xhosa. If the majority of the people there can talk that language, and the resources of that institution allows them to do so. You go to other provinces, the same. So we are not discriminating against any other language, but we do not want it to see it being used as a political tool, like some of the people are doing currently.
And then building languages. I mean, Eastern Cape's a great example because people now are being able to write matric in their home language, particularly Xhosa. We're seeing other provinces starting to do the same. I think the last time I checked, I know there was at least one PhD thesis which had been published in Xhosa. It might be more than that now. This is how you build languages into academic languages.
Stephen, absolutely correct. We have that in the Northwest University as well. Last year we had graduates and thesis been written in Setswana, and it's marvelous. And this shows that people can use their languages to demonstrate their feelings, to demonstrate their knowledge, and generate content that could be used many years to come. And the University of Stellenbosch, for an example, also has a very progressive language policy, of which it was implemented 2 years ago, and we have welcomed it. And they are integrating other languages as well, which is something that is progressive, and it should be encouraged that all 26 universities must do so, and all our 50 colleges must also look at doing so, because we cannot discriminate and take a language as a barrier to access education in South Africa. Gone are those days. Progressive policies that we have takes us somewhere, and this is where we want to go. And we are going to shun those that are negative and say to UNISA, please look at the Concord judgment and correct what they've said that you need to correct. But we are behind the UNISA and what they need to be doing in order to promote multilingualism in UNISA.
Ishmael Mnisi, spokesperson for the Minister in Giyabonga, thanks very much indeed.